While sitting in the hospital room at St. John's Catholic Hospital with Alfred Hughes, I had the opportunity to ask Big Al, or better known to me as Uncle Al, questions about life, inspirations, and if he had any advice for the youth of today. Al is only one of a select few of our nation's population who's able to claim the title of U.S. veteran, among many of his other many accomplishments. Al is originally from a small town in Iowa, where he had to walk 2 miles every morning with his siblings to go to school in a one-room schoolhouse. Back in the 1930s, education was not the same as it is today, and Al is very passionate about all of his nieces and nephews receiving the best education they can, through schooling, but more importantly, through hands-on training. Al grew up on his family farm, where he learned more about life and death than he ever could have learned in a schoolhouse. Many of the children never had the opportunity to finish all the way through the 12th grade because they had to leave the school to aid their families on the farm. Al did finish his schooling and went immediately into the military, where the entrance exam said he should be in a clerical position. This did not settle well, though, for Al. He was looking for excitement and adventure, and he requested something more exotic, like a military policeman. Instead, they placed him into the position of hydraulics aircraft maintenance general. While in this position, he was offered an extra $50 a month in hazard pay to fly around with the damaged aircraft and make sure they were repaired correctly, and if they were not, he had to repair them again. During his time with the military, they taught him more about mathematics, science, and even more than he was given the opportunities to receive in the once-room schoolhouse in Iowa. After his 4 years was up with the military, Al was hired with Western Electric Telephone Company, installing their equipment in all of their offices. From there, he joined an astronautics lab as an engineer and worked for about a year and a half designing an accelerometer for the outer space industry. After losing their funding and having to go their separate ways, Al was then hired as an engineer to Theco, a company starting up about the same time as Silicon Valley as Microsoft and other big computer companies. Al was not hired for his degrees in engineering, but for hands-on training, hard work, and dedication. Theco is where Al learned how to become the master welder he is today, receiving contracts from different places and companies such as Stanford University. During this time, because of some technical issues, he was also able to build relationships with different companies such as Texas Instruments, and this furthered his professional contact list. After about 5 years, Theco, along with Al, was sold, where he put in many years into the new company. And then, after his many years of dedication, Al in turn decided to buy Arkansas. Al and his wife Joni chose Arkansas because it was closer to his family in Iowa, but the weather was not as cold as in the winter. They also had read in an article that Arkansas was a great place to go because it was the next booming area in the country. When they loaded up to move, Al purchased a semi-truck and got a CDL to move them to Arkansas. They were not here long before the plant manager that took Al's place passed away, and he had to spend about a year flying back and forth from Harrison to LA to run the plant and train the new plant manager. I asked Al for advice for the youth of today. He says, people wanting education, you need to earn it. He has nothing to prove for his but his life story. He has no degree, just hard work and hands-on training. If you have no common sense in life, you cannot make it. Here's a good story you can take with you. Take a piece of gold that's shiny, and you take another that is dull and dirty. Which would you pick to interview and use possibly? The nice shiny one or the dull ugly one? The shiny one with least resistance. In his view, the dull one, if you add a little acid and water, it will be just as shiny as the new one, and it may be full of ideas, where the shiny one may not have an idea in its head. I further asked Al about when when would he consider to be the greatest time in his life? Believe it or not, lying in this hospital bed is the greatest time in his life. He's making the grade. He couldn't ask for anything better. He has some of the best people he could ask for sitting around him, and it's something he would not trade for anything in the world. But at the same instance, it's also the hardest trials he is going through. When I asked Al about who is his greatest inspiration, it took him a while to answer. He finally chose his mother. She was his leading instigator on positive outlook. She told him to always be positive and to always be balanced. Do not be too far to the left or too far to the right, making those decisions accordingly. Do not have ideologies that interfere in your decision making. Al's a wonderful man and a wonderful uncle and a great inspiration.